Ralston Creek. I think I've been keeping you guys pretty informed that the idea of keeping the Safeway has moved on, and that the developer has been looking at other options. Well, he is kind of fleshed some ideas out, and before he goes too far, he wanted to meet with you guys and get your input and your ideas as to if he's going in the right direction. And if we are, then he can go forth and start having neighborhood meetings and continue on. So tonight is Jim Loftus. I think you guys know him well, remember him, and the architect, Tim Van Meter. So I will turn it over to them.
Okay.
And then actually, and at the end of this, of the conversation on phase 2, we're going to talk a little bit and give you guys an update on what's going on with phase 1. Go ahead, sorry.
Okay.
Coming. Slow. I would like to announce that we are getting an upgrade to our Wi-Fi.
You get an upgrade to Clark?
That can't be upgraded.
The 1980 standards.
But you might just have a little background to show where we've been.
So I'll kick off,
Please.
1 minute about how we got here. I think that in the second neighborhood meeting, this was shown, and it was, everyone kept saying, you're sure you're gonna do the Safeway building and you're gonna do the deal, and we said, yeah, we're sure we're gonna do it. We're absolutely sure we're gonna do it, but it could be, sorry, I'm okay. It could be something that could come up that would change it. And so Tim drew this, which was showing all residential units. What happened as we worked our way down, we got to the end with the lease agreement with 24-Hour Fitness, is that it became totally uneconomic for us, and that we were not driving the deal anymore. They were driving it and trying to drive the rules and regulations for the center and cross easements and how things would be monitored. So we stopped working with them in the fall, and late fall possibly, it was into December. And so very quickly Tim has started putting some things together, which he'll go ahead with, but phase 1, maybe you know, has gone from being this side of Holland to just this. And I think when this was drawn a number of months ago, some of these buildings were a little bit smaller. So, but what we will be going to the city on, to the planning commission on Tuesday, is just this. So,
Yeah, about 30,000 square feet of phase 1. So Jim mentioned phase 1 has gotten smaller, which of course means phase 2 has gotten bigger. And so we're working on both simultaneously right now. Where we are right now, as Jim mentioned, come Tuesday, we're down here with the planning commission to move through the jurisdictional approval process. And I'm going to come back to phase 1 at the end of this little discussion, because we need to ask some, we need to let you know what's going on. We need to ask some help, I believe, on some interesting issues. So we're in technical drawings right now. We call them construction documents for the buildings and for the site, and it's getting extremely fine-tuned and getting very close to being able to put it into the building department to pull a building permit. So pretty far down the road here. At the time of the death of I don't want to of this piece up here, Jim says, okay, let's look at this thing as residential. We did this early drawing for that. But it was more than that, and I'm just gonna show you a progression of the work. The building, the drawings get less and less graphic and a little bit more diagrammatic as we go along. So I just want to show you a progression of our thinking of where we are right now. You know, this funny little sketch was, well, Jim, what happened, and Jim was saying, Tim, what happens if we now place all residential here and this idea of a large format store down at this end now, instead of being over here. And this is just showing a sketch of how it could lay out. What the sketch doesn't show is what's on top of this, which is, you know, dwelling units that's on top of this and here and here. So a little bit different configuration. You see these buildings moved a little bit too. And after some discussion, Jim says, hey, let's keep moving forward. You know, so we've moved into a concept design, schematic design exercise for this site. And again, looking at mixed use, looking at a high degree of residential, but also trying to replace our lost commercial component that we lost over here back over here. So to keep in intent with the original intent of this area as a mixed use community. So now this is where we are just a couple of days ago from a site plan perspective. It looks like a lot of parking, and it is a lot of parking. But what you're not seeing is the high degree of buildings that's sitting over all this. So we're right now looking at 4 fairly large buildings, you know, named very stealthily 7, 8, and 9. And this one we haven't put a little name yet because Jim doesn't like it yet. But we're still working on it. But we're looking at about 300 dwelling units here now. And not just 300 dwelling units, but I believe we're up to 30, 35, 36, 37, 38,000 square feet of retail to bring back to the site. You know, again, in conjunction with what's happening over here in phase 1. And so we're looking at you know, a fairly robust set of buildings on the back here, residential, mixed use and residential, and then the parking facilities for the residential, which are covered for the most part in structures or in parking podiums, and then a parking field that sits in front of our mixed-use building at this location. And I'll just go through these quickly so you can see what we're up to. First building, 7, when we go back, I'm going to move from here to here. Building 7 was the Parkside building. This is going to hold a major amenity package for the residences. That will be here, and that's what you're seeing on the first floor. So the intent is to feel like a retail building with residential above. Though the majority of our lobbies, small theater, workout facility, and the things that come with these type of things we're putting on the park side. So this relationship over to the park here is very important. And this building's kind of shaping up like this. So you're seeing a series of what we call liner buildings. Again, like what we've done over here at the park here in Old Town, is putting a series of walk-up residences here and here with our major amenity package sitting at the corner. And what that's doing is masking a fairly large amount of parking, you know, a 2-deck parking structure sitting up here. This goes up 2 levels like this. On the second level, this fills in with residential up here. And then we get up on top to a podium level, which we're going to have a large podium deck, 2 levels up in the air, so the views will be spectacular. Drop a pool in, have a series of amenities, fire pits, and outdoor eating areas and things like that for the residents that now sit in this building. The residences do sit back about 20 feet back from the edge of the building. That's the parking below. So we start modulating back away from the creek side to give the building some edge and some form to it. The mixed-use building, you know, it's a large retail space, and right now, you know, potentially a food provider here, where all storefronts along the front here, maybe a major glazed entry here, smaller user at the corner here, sub lobby here for the residences that is adjacent to the old Safeway building now. This little line, this funny little line you're seeing in back is our 100-year floodplain, so we've got to be out of that. So it's starting to shape the building somewhat coming across. But you know, so it's a high degree of glazing across the front here. But to activate that, again, we have 2 levels of residential that sit on top of that. And again, double loaded quarters, a series of 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms and a few studios. And again, we set back 10 feet on the front side here to really give the retail a pronounced effect. Because retail will basically be a double height space, you know, 16, 20 feet tall, with 2 levels of residential over that. So a fairly robust building. a building form. And again, it sits right next door to Building 7, which is also a fairly robust building form. So we're starting to add some critical density, but I think some critical activity to help activate these retail spaces. And last but not least is a really interesting building. This is kind of turned, where north is this way, what we call Building 9, which is a large parking podium to cover parking. So each resident will have a covered parking space underneath a podium. Again, lined with walk-up housing. When I mean by walk-up, so you're outdoor, you come on up into a porch, on up into the unit, or through a corridor through the back end. Coming on down here, that faces out towards our phase 1, and again, a sub-lobby level right here. This is fairly remote from Building 7, so we do have some amenities right here for Building 9. It moves up, and it creates a really unique shape of two very large courtyards. Very large. Have most of you been to Park Place and seen those courtyards? These are double the sizes, double the sizes on that. This one facing due south, looking over phase 1, one level up in the air, and this is looking right down the spine of the watercourse-way, Rolston Creek. Looking right down that watercourse. And again, these will be heavily amenitized like at Park Place with a variety of uses out there. And we go up 3 stories just like this. So right now we're sitting at about 307 dwelling units, variety of dwelling types, ones and twos and studios for the most part, covered parking, and about 38,000 square feet of commercial retail opportunity within that. I'll go back to the site plan here. I know it's not sexy, but this is like just printed right off our computer right now about where we are today. So we're moving forward in a fairly aggressive design pattern right now. I'm looking forward to trying to get a PDP and maybe towards the middle to the late parts of April, first middle for the full development of Ralston Creek. So before I go on to the really interesting discussion, do you have any questions about this that I can help answer?
What's happening on the southeast corner, or beyond on the property that you have control over, not the gas station?
What's happening on the corner?
Is that all just parking? Or is
Oh,
it,
right
There's
here?
the building, no,
There's a
the
building.
building that you're sole deciding whether you're gonna do, that front.
so there is a building that's over that parking.
Which-
That's where,
Jim Loftus's building, he doesn't know if he wants you to build or not.
Oh, this puppy. Yeah.
well, not
yeah.
the little. So the rest of it's just parking.
The rest of what, Mr. Mayor? Pop it up here.
This one right here?
Yes, that.
That's parking.
That's all parking.
Parking. The thought that is we need a few more parking spaces. We're not getting into the structure that this would be reserved for the residential at this point.
Okay.
This would be our
And the
little
site just to the west of that's just surface parking as well.
surface parking, yeah, because this is all serving this. Parking at about 5 per thousand, about 5 spaces per thousand. Keeping a good view corridor back to here, because a fairly large user, we need to be able to pronounce it back out to Ralston. This is the urgent care facility, and we have a co-share parking arrangement with them at this point right here.
What's the street situation going through there?
This?
Yeah.
Well, it's the street.
Okay.
It's a street situation, yeah, parking on both sides, neck down to about 24 feet wide, just enough for a fire truck, and 2 cars pass by, at a 5-10 mile an hour condition.
Go back to the original site plan, because that street really remains the same throughout. That shows how it's, the color lines,
Yeah.
that one, so that street still remains.
Yeah.
Like that, so it'll be,
The
a
thread
nice-
has been the same throughout the entire
Right.
process, but now we're getting into the details of the building, so we can figure out what the yield is, so we can figure out how to park it.
Just appeared narrow.
Yeah, well, it is rather narrow, and the intent is it's very slow moving. So, with parking on both sides. Yeah.
So phase 1, are you still anticipating buildings fronting Ralston?
Yeah,
And then-
this is where we are.
Right. And then for the eastern part, so buildings 7, 8, and 9, where the parking is. So now we don't have the buildings fronting Ralston, now it's gone to smaller buildings and
Right.
parking.
Right, because the majority of our what we were showing previously, that we did not have retail back here. We had retail all up front, and we co-located back here, so they get a larger user back there.
And then, you use the term covered parking, is covered and structural parking the same?
Yeah. Yeah. This is a parking structure, it's 2 decks. This is a parking podium, in other words, it has a concrete lid over it. And that's what, gives us our coordinates.
So we feel there's no restaurant capability on the east side of the property facing the park at all? We've got the quote residence parking right now.
Oh, right here?
So there's no restaurant possibility
What?
anymore?
Jim, did you hear that?
Hmm?
You want to answer that, or?
Well, right now, we're not showing anything there because in order to park the residential, we're about 30-some spaces short of what the apartment brokers are suggesting is the ideal parking arrangement, which is 1.5 spaces per unit average. And we are at about 1.4 something
Okay.
by doing that. In terms of something being planned there of some significance, we've kind of taken a pass on it because of the gas station and not exactly knowing the future of the gas station.
It is different around country.
And if you were to say, let's point to the corner of Building 7, just where the entry is. I mean, if you were talking about, could there be a coffee shop there? There. In my world, it would make more sense to have a coffee shop there.
Inside the building?
Yeah. Than behind the gas station.
Yeah, the gas station is problematic for any kind of buildings, just because it's unpredictable how long it's going to be there. It's just a real eyesore. Nobody wants to be next to
So
it.
what we're thinking is that this is 2 users. And this is a 30,000-foot user, and this is 5,000 or 6,000 feet. And so it's essentially the height of the trusses and so on is about what it would be if you were inside a Safeway store or a regular grocery store. I think we started talking about 16 feet, and maybe that is 18 feet. I don't know, but
Yeah.
that would be grocery store height.
These connect across in a bridge.
Yeah.
These 2 buildings.
Those 2 buildings
2
connect,
levels up
the
in the air.
residential connects across the drive-through area there. And I can't say that we know of anybody that definitely is gonna go in that building, but we've kind of targeted some people that we think we're gonna go after, and one we've already contacted about going into that building. So we've gone from having some of these buildings here to trying to get a kind of a user that everybody's gonna appreciate. Maybe it's food.
That also complements all the small users.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we'd wanna put anything over here that competed with these guys, because these guys we spent so much time trying to reduce footage, take away footage, because these are mostly restaurants, Cadova and people like that are interested in this stuff up here, and they want visibility and signage and very convenient parking. And when we failed on this thing right here, then the other thing that the retailers and restaurants look for is, in addition to traffic, is rooftops. And it looked like we had the right amenities to do rooftops, and the amenities being the way he designed this building, with the courtyard looking this way down there. These 2 buildings have their best units behind, they look at the creek. These units here in front get the views. They're up high enough that they can look over it, but, so that's kind of the thought. Is there a breakfast place or a coffee place going on here, I don't know. We know that there isn't one here anymore. Will we? Probably go after one, sure we will. I don't know, maybe you do know that we're changing brokers. And we brought a company in here yesterday to introduce them to Mo and Clark. And they spent a couple hours here learning about the rest of Arvada. And our goal would be to have a deal done with them in a week or two. And from there, we would like to have our demolition guy give us a number for these buildings, because as soon as those are vacated, we'll knock those down. And when they're knocked down is when we'll put up marketing signs. We think it's kind of confusing to have the old buildings and then have somebody put up their sign that says for lease.
And just to add to what he said, you guys all know Phil Hicks, he was here before, and that's who they're going with, is that firm. And they have a lot of exciting ideas about this. They want to get some of the the bigger guys up there, but they also have a great relationship with a lot of the smaller, regional, local people who are looking to put, who might have 3 or 4 locations. So they're looking to do a good melding of local, regional, and national for the retail on that site.
So one thing I just add, you said it's a fail on the 24-hour fitness. Actually, I think it's probably a victory in the way that you designed that. I think that's going to be a lot better than
Well,
24-hour fitness in the big picture.
it looks better than that.
Yeah. I think that's going to be...
When that was first drawn, we thought, well, this could be kind of simple. You have an anchor there, and this generates traffic, and it ended up not being simple. And so maybe what we're going to go ahead and propose, depending on what we hear, is what we're showing.
I think we did point out one thing too, I'm sorry, is he's willing to do vertical mixed use, which, we keep trying to get developers to do vertical mixed use, and we have a real trouble with that. And that center building is vertical mixed use. It is retail with 2 layers of housing above it,
So
which is pretty cool.
when we were here before, I think we talked about it even when we came in the interview process, and we talked about a King Soopers built at 20th and Chestnut, and I was involved in that with another company in Denver, and King's is open, and King's is doing very well, and they put 314 units on top of it. It's very cool. And it actually has one lobby entry that comes down for the tenants, so the tenants can have their own entry into the grocery store. So my partner on that deal informed me last week that that project just got the Downtown Denver Partnership Award for building. So you should eyeball it to see how it works. That particular grocery store was 2 levels. If this was a grocery store, it would be 1 level, but to get a grasp of what it's going to look like, go down there and take a look, because the first level, where you look up to the top of the grocery store, it's 30 feet. So they fit in a mezzanine in part of the store at about 15 feet. So what we would have is 18 to 20. So the storefront that you're looking at is not a little 8 or 10-foot storefront. It's 20 feet. And then over that, and then you do your setbacks, and then you set the residential and so on, and then we wouldn't have an interior deal, but we'd have a lobby there and a lobby there. And these 2 guys connect right here at the 3rd floor? Yep.
Yep, so they bridge across.
So,
Yeah, so, with respect to all the work and effort that you put in trying to make the changes since the
Safeway opportunity has gone away. I respect that. I've been working on this project for about 9 years, and first I'll say that anytime you have a color illustration like this, it's always a lot more sexy than black and white. So I'm taking that into account.
Right off the computer screen.
Yeah. I have to say my first gut reaction is I'm fairly disappointed with the amount of setback. It looks eerily similar. I'm talking about just the front row. So from here to here, looks eerily similar to what we already have. And we've been working hard. I know we had originally wanted to put some small businesses up towards Ralston, so we can kind of close that corridor, and we'd had many discussions about why that made sense, and that seems to have gone away on that space, and I'm having a hard time, well, I know you still have it there, I'm having a hard time conceptualizing seeing it there, and then to the east, you have this big sea of parking, and I understand why it's necessary, so I get to make wishes, you guys have to make it happen.
This is here,
But, right,
okay,
right,
and we
in
didn't
the
draw
gas
that.
station, so then
So-
the rest of it is fill-in parking, where
Yeah.
before we were
So what we
looking
were,
at doing some other.
so in terms of putting the retail here, the parking requirement that we were looking at for the particular bigger users was 5 spaces per 1,000 square feet.
I understand why you have to do it, I understand you have to have so many parking spaces, and since, so basically now the jewel of the project has been moved back towards the creek, it's offset, and so without really seeing what that's going to look like, how we've made up for it in buildings 7, 8, and 9, I feel that we've lost some things up towards Ralston.
Well, it's tough, because there's things we don't control here, obviously,
Right.
which is this thing, and it's
You can-
not
you
going
can-
away.
You can
It's
put
not
something
impacted.
back there,
Yeah.
and whatever you're gonna put back there, you've gotta take something away
Sure.
back here, because you've got competing parking requirements. And when you have the retail broker here, like here yesterday in Mullen Park, so we talk about this, maybe having 2 buildings here.
Right. So maybe you can, and I'm probably the least qualified to make this kind of comment, so I'm just trying to absorb some
You're
information.
making good observations. The key difference here is between this drawing and that drawing, we've doubled it out to the amount of commercial here. But it's all co-located in one mixed-use building, where before we along this quasi-main street that the city keeps calling, and we finally adopted, we didn't have any commercial, all the commercial was just in these 2 buildings. But there's a lot of questions whether they can coexist with this and this.
So have you done any studies or gotten any information? Right now, we have some buildings, we've had grocery stores that are offset that far back. And with the development across the street, you have that development across the street, and then you have this development here with the grocery set that far back. I just wonder about the amount of traffic that's gonna receive. There's already a King Soopers, and there was a Safeway, and there was a Sears, and all of them are set that far back, and they've had some struggles in the past.
Yeah, I mean, if it ends up being food, it's natural food. I mean, you can list the names of those folks that are out there and the sizes that they're looking for, maybe from natural grocers of 16 or 18,000 feet to Sprouts and
That's total
and Lucky's.
36?
It's 30 in this box.
Yeah, and 6 on them.
And 6. And it might not be that if you did move one of those stores up front. Like if you had a, say, natural grocery, you had 18,000 feet, and you were trying to put them up front, my opinion would be you wouldn't have this. You would just have, you would have that store here. There's nothing wrong with having the parking field behind it, because that happens a lot of places and stuff, but you've eliminated any other visibility for any of the rest of these guys. I mean, you're the first people that we've shown this to other than ourselves, and we just keep patting ourselves on the back. It's wonderful. So.
And I'm not coming from a good place tonight, so you have to accept that. I'm sharing Tony's view of, I am not liking that parking field there, considering what's on the